Hello, hello. Today I am going to try and make a compost at home for my garden this spring. As you can see, it is still some snow on the ground and it's still cold and we're still kind of in the winter. It's mid-March and we just got a lot of snow. We're about to get more snow, but hopefully it will warm up here in the next coming months. So I thought it would be nice to start a compost. I'm in my shed right now. So with composting, I wanted to start doing it mainly because I have a lot of scraps of everything. I cook a lot. I have a lot of cardboard. And when I finally just did the research on like what composting requires, I'm like, why do I not do this? Why do I not do this? I no longer live in an apartment either, which kind of helps with the smell, which I think you can still compost in an apartment. There's like a lot of videos on it. You mainly just have to like have a deck or a garage, like somewhere you can maybe keep it outside of your home, mainly because you don't want it in your home. So yeah, I was like, well, let me just do it. Why not? We're here. So the first thing I'm going to be looking for is a good tub to use. I'm guessing I want to maybe go for a tub I will eventually like have a lot of stuff in. I don't have a ton of stuff saved up right now. Like I have some scraps because I just had this idea yesterday. So I honestly have quite a bit of scraps for someone who just had this idea yesterday, because you can do food scraps, coffee beans or like old coffee grounds, which I drink coffee every single day and I have an espresso machine. So I have to like get rid of my coffee grounds every morning. So what better idea to do with this waste than to compost? So I'm going to look for a bin in here. We have so many bins from our previous move. I think I could find something maybe that I will go for a bigger size. And then even though I don't have a lot right now, like I will continuously add to it as I gather more scraps to then it eventually compost. Now I'm not by any means good or know how to compost very well because I've never done it and I've just watched videos. So I'm going to try that out. And I'm just, to me, it's like there's no rush and there's no push to be perfect in this process. So I'm just going to like try doing that first and then go from there. And if it doesn't work with it being too big of a bin, then I can go to a smaller size. But I'm going to start with just like a big bin that I want to eventually like have filled with compost and have it continuously compost throughout the next few months to see if I can actually use any of this for the summer to garden. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. So this is the bin I'm going to go with. It is deeper than it is wide, but I think it might be the best option because I kind of want something that's like deep, not too shallow. So it allows like the raw stuff, like the vegetables and everything, to kind of like start to decompose under the dry stuff, kind of like how it works in a compost pile. So hopefully this works. Oh, I'm gonna fall. So my next step is going to be drilling holes in this to kind of let it aerate out. And then I can start adding my stuff to finally compost. Woo! Okay, so I'm working on getting the holes drilled into here. I looked online and the holes vary in size, vary in distance, vary in amount. So I'm just going to kind of go for it. And if I need to change it up, I will. I got all the things I need. I got my iPod, since I'm recording on my phone, listen to some LCD sound system right now. Got my coffee. Unfortunately, this isn't actually from Waffle House, but it's my Waffle House mug. I got some breakfast this morning. It's the next day, by the way. Saw some friends last night. It's supposed to storm soon. You can tell that something's brewing here. I'm hoping this is the last storm of the winter and we can finally move on to spring. First day of spring is this weekend, so fingers crossed that actually happens. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking this lighter and sorry, and I'm lighting the plastic area to make it a little bit softer. It makes the drilling go by way quicker. Without this, I think it took me like a good couple minutes to drill. So I'm just putting it up to the spot. Oh, whoopsie, my drill's locked. So my plan is to do that in rows on the side. I think I'm going to do just 3 holes a row like this, kind of like eyeballing it in the distance. I've seen online that they just do it on the sides. I've seen it on these sides too, so maybe I'll do a few on this side and on the other side, plus the lid. So yeah, this is something I'll probably be continuously working at during the week. I don't plan on actually starting to put produce and everything for breakdown until probably the end of this week due to the weather. It is cold and snowy. I don't really want to keep it in here because it's going to smell, and I'm so close to the spring, like it's going to warm up next week. So I'm going to wait until it warms up to actually start adding the produce for it to decompose. I will in the meantime start collecting my sticks and like my brown. They say like to add a base of sticks or twigs, like something kind of like a bedding at the bottom. So I'll start working on that because that's a little bit easier to collect and keep in a bin. And then I'll actually start adding my produce once it warms up. So I also just burnt a little bit and did a knife and stuck it and twisted it. And that also made a hole. So if you don't have a drill, or your drill died like mine, then you can just do that. I think it really just depends on getting the holes. Again, I'm not by any means know what I'm doing, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, that has been working. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend you using sharp tools if you're not familiar with how to use them, because it could be like more dangerous, I would say, than using a drill if you're more familiar with using a drill than a knife. So just like be cautious if you do use a knife, because if you press it and you're using all this force and it kind of like cuts through quickly, you could accidentally like jut forward or something. So just be careful if you do use a knife, and also be careful using fire. So PSA. Okay, so it's been an entire week and I'm going to start adding to the compost. And I'm going to just go through the layering I'm doing. I have a little bit of collecting I still have to do. The ground is now somewhat de-thawed. The snow is melted. It's a little icier today. It got cold again today, but we had some 40s to 50 degree weather this last week. So I have a lot of things I can now gather to make more of like a bedding for my compost. So I'm really excited. Okay, so this is my current base right now I'm working on. So we got some pine needles, some green, and then some dead pine needles, some pine cones. And then I'm laying just with this brown paper bag to kind of help it absorb some of the drippings that will probably come from the middle compost, which is going to be our food and scraps. So I think this is what I'll leave it at, and then I'll add the scraps. I just added some roses as well that I got for Valentine's Day that are now dead as kind of part of my green as well. We got a fire going to keep us warm. Everything melted, but then froze overnight. So we're in a good old in-betweener time called spring, winter. So I just added another layer of browns. So these are cardboard. These are those disintegrated, those peanuts that disintegrate. I'm then going to add this potting soil to the top half, and then a little bit of more pine needles, the dry ones, and then I'm going to call it good for now, because it's going to start small and then I'm going to be able to add to it more, and I kind of want to keep the ratios pretty even. So yeah, so I actually think I'm going to leave it like this, because the dirt did a lot more covering than I expected. So I feel like it's encased pretty well in there. And I don't want to add too much of one thing. So I'm gonna leave it like this for now, and then I can add more pine needles and brown items and scraps and everything as it continues to decompose. But this is the final product. Here's my sides with my holes that I made with really no rhyme or reason, and then I'm gonna add a lid to it and we will be done and leave her be. All right, so here's my bin. I put some holes on the top. The little handle that keeps these closed was missing on this side, and I kind of want to keep it shut so no animals try to get in. So I found some old twine back here. I just made a quick hole in the side and tied it up, so hopefully I'll just keep it secure. I'm gonna leave it behind my shed. This area is just kind of farther off from our place, so it can just be left alone over here, and we'll let it sit. I'll probably keep an eye on this and check on it next week. But yeah, so I think that's about it. I did the compost, so I will just keep an eye on it. And I don't know if it'll be ready for my current spring gardening and summer gardening, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to start it, and then hopefully I can use it all next year or soon. I don't know. That's the joy of it. It's a little bit of a bummer it was cold today, but I was thinking to myself that it's good to be appreciative of these in-between times, where you're in between spring and winter, or winter and spring, or summer and fall. You always want to be to the next step, but you only get so many days here on this world, and you should enjoy every part of it, every icy, melty, snowy, rainy part, because it's all magical in its own way. It's just the earth transitioning, which is in its own self beautiful. So you can't enjoy sometimes the spring days without having those really cold winter days. So yeah, I'm just appreciative to get to be outside today and enjoy it.